All right, hey guys, we're live to the 12th episode of Keeping It Real. And hey, I guess Frank's playing a little applause. We actually are on with Bill Jenkins today. So what we want to first thank everybody for bearing with us last week when we had the technical issues, technology. But you guys are all great sports. So thank you for coming back on. And anyhow, we're on our 12th episode of Keeping It Real. We're getting towards the end of the year. I think we have one more next week, December 11th. Today we're going to do how to set more appointments and take more listings with Bill Jenkins. I want to announce one other thing before I go through Bill. Look at Frank. He's all giddy today. You know why, Frank? Here, I'm kind of off script anyways. Who cares? I'm not following this guy. I just got notes. But anyways, Frank is over there giddy. Frank is my co-host. Say hi, Frank.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Yeah, so he's all giddy because he's going to be a father next Tuesday. Him and his fiance Katie are having a baby next Tuesday. Baby boy, right?
Yep, she's getting induced on Tuesday. If it comes now, I'm hopping off. So
yeah, so
I'm very excited.
He leaves. That's why. Okay. So, anyways, congratulations, Frank. And so Frank with Vyral Marketing. He's the CEO.
Yep.
So he's my co-partner. I'm a little wacky today. Anyway, I'm Jeff Manson, Hawaii real estate broker and founder of Real Geeks. And I want to announce one thing. We were at NAR, Real Geeks was, and we had a booth there, and we had about 500 or so people get their badges scanned. So next week, we're going to announce the winner of the drawing. And the drawing was 1 year free website, seller tool, and marketing, PPC management, for whoever we draw next week. So I know they've been tuning in, so next week we're going to announce that, okay? And come back next week. We're going to have a great show next week. We're going to be, it's going to be how to convert more seller home valuation leads with Buddy Blake. But anyhow, Bill today is our guest. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Bill today is our guest. He's a Las Vegas real estate agent. He's personally helped me buy 7 properties in Vegas when I needed some investment properties. Him and his wife, Fran, work together, plus an admin and a VA. He's returning guest. Last time he was on, we talked about how to convert appointments using a VA and get listings and stuff like that. Bill is on track to sell 80 transactions this year. He's been in the real estate since 2009. He's done over 7,000 coaching calls. He's a past one-on-one and two-on-one coach for the Mike Ferry organization. He also, this is important to note, he also hosted prospecting schools for the MFO. MFO. So in other words, agents would come into their office and do live prospecting, and Bill and other coaches would go around and help them listen in and stuff like that. So he's got some experience on that. He's currently a Tom Ferry coach and runs his own business. And we're just really excited to have him on again. Thanks a lot, Bill.
I appreciate it. Glad to be back.
Yeah, and so out of every 10 contacts you make, how many appointments do you set on average?
Out of the 10 people I actually reach, I end up setting about 3 appointments that I actually physically go on.
So physically go on. Out of every 10 people, you get about 30% hit ratio to appointment. Right. That's pretty good. All right, and so we're going to be talking. We're going to do some live role play. Oh, by the way, folks, we're going to go through the essentials, what you need to know about role playing scripts and stuff like that. About following a script and setting more appointments. And after we do that, we're going to do a little live role play with Bill and I, and then we're going to open it up. So we're going to go about maybe 25, 30 minutes with that, maybe, if it takes less. Then we're going to open it up, and we're going to let you guys give us, Bill, Frank's going to read your objections to Bill, and he's going to handle them how he would naturally handle them, okay? And if we go an hour, great. If we go 45 minutes, great. So it's no big deal. So what do you think is one of the most important things about, doing a script and following a script? Everybody uses a script, whether they think so or not. We're all kind of basically saying the same thing and talking with clients. What do you think is one of the most important things?
One of the most important things, number one, is that, whatever, when you ask the question, open-ended question, is repeating back what their answer is. And so by repeating back their answer, what does that show them?
That you're listening.
Yeah, that you're listening, right. And that's number one. Number two would definitely be agreeing or approving whatever they say. So if if you would just focus on doing those two things, as far as repeating exactly what they say verbatim, not paraphrasing it, but repeating it back, and also agreeing or approving what they say, you're going to probably stay on the phone probably 50-60% longer than you would ordinarily if you didn't do that.
Okay,
and
that's
so let me finish here. So by agreeing or approving what they say, what does that show them? You're on their side, right?
You're on their side. So I would say acknowledging them, agreeing, acknowledging them. I mean, and you don't. Here's one thing you got to be careful about. You can't become a drone. Oh, okay. When you plan on moving? Never. Okay, great. If you ask them a question, they say, well, why aren't you moving? Or maybe we're talking to an expired and now, why are you not moving anymore? And they say, I lost my job. You're going to say, oh, you lost your job. Great. Right, Bill?
Right. No, yeah. Well, obviously, you don't want to be a parrot, to do that. You have to listen to what their answers are and answer appropriately. So if they said lost your job, I mean, typically I'll say something like, ouch. Wow, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so like you were talking with a friend or something, right?
Right, as a consultant. And also act as if you really care. Because if you're just going through the motions, people are going to pick up on that fairly quickly. And you probably notice that when we get sales calls, things like that, we can tell immediately whether or not it's a sales call or not. So you don't want to appear as one.
Well, I got a question for you. When you start with someone with basic scripts, and you hear follow the script exactly, what do you say to that? Do you follow the script exactly? Or do you ad-lib it? Like, how close do you be on the script? Or how do you answer that question of, like, do top salespeople follow the scripts verbatim, word for word, is what usually you're taught in the beginning of sales training?
That's a great question. And I think at the beginning, yes, you need to follow it verbatim, because until you have the skills to ad-lib off the script or paraphrase the script, you don't have the skill set yet to be able to do that. So initially when you're starting out, it's important that you become scripted. And you have to reach the point where you actually have this script ingrained, so it's internalized. And once it's internalized, then you can start sounding more conversational, and that only comes from practice.
Yeah,
and you're not saying the scripts any differently than what Mike and Tom have taught you. They're the same scripts they teach for the most part, right? You're just reading them better. Yeah, you're just reading them better, and that's what we're going through on these tips here.
Well, it'd be to use an analogy. I was a professional musician. And so I didn't just, when I first started playing guitar, I just didn't pull a guitar off the wall and magically start playing it. It took hours and hours and hours of practice until I reached a level of proficiency. Well, it's the same thing with prospecting and also role-playing. You can't circumvent the amount of time it takes to practice to reach that skill level. Would you agree, Jeff?
I would agree 100%. And then when you say internalizing the scripts, that I have something written down here so you can listen better. You should not be reading a script. If you're reading a script, you're really blowing it. So what Bill just says, you got to take the time to practice. And how do you practice, or how do you internalize a script? One thing that they used to make us do in that productivity school, and I did that for years, is every day I get up. I mean, you got to do it more than once a day when you're learning it. But every day I'd read through my scripts and my objections as fast as I could 20 times. I would read through it as fast as I could 20 times. So what that does is you're reading through the script and acknowledging and all that, but what happens is when you're reading through it as fast as you can, you'll get stuck. And then now you know where you're getting stuck on, and then once you go through that, you'll remember next time you don't want to get stuck. So what it does is it internalizes that, because you should not be thinking about what you're saying next. You should be talking with them in a normal conversation. The script is just a series of questions that you're trying to find out if you can help them or not. And you should be in a conversation, and if you're thinking about what you're going to say next or how you're saying it because you haven't practiced, you're going to miss out, and you're not going to be able to listen and focus and really help these people, because a script is just trying to find out if you can help them. Wouldn't you agree, Bill?
Absolutely, and I think the other challenge with not practicing or taking the time to be able to internalize that and sound conversational is that what happens is a lot of agents just give up on this and say, well, this doesn't work. Well, it's not a question of that it doesn't work. We know it works. It just may not work because you didn't invest the time, and also do it correctly as well.
Yeah, so they say it doesn't work, and they go back to their shitty script that they've been asking and not asking any qualifying questions, and then they say, oh, this just doesn't work. and they go off and try and do something lame. What about I have something on here, mirror and match, tonality, rate of speech, accent, stuff like that. How important is that?
That's incredibly important. Obviously, you don't have the advantage of body language, which is 55% of communication. And so the only way you can emulate body language is by rate of speech and tonality. And you can pretty much, somebody who understands personality styles can listen to somebody's rate of speech and determine whether or not they're a driver and expressive, or whether they're an amiable or analytical. And typically, people with a very high rate of speech are typically drivers or expressives. There you go. And people who typically have a slower rate of speech are amiable or analyticals. And so it's important to listen to that, number one, so that you can match their rate of speech. Number two is also listen for key words that they say in their language, so that you can model and emulate that type of keywords. Feel, felt, found, I see.
Yeah. So the importance of that is they're used to communicating to their friends, their tribe, people they're used to being around with, and they generally communicate that way. So if you take on that way of communicating, they're going to feel more comfortable talking with you, right?
Of course, yeah, because people like to be like people like themselves. And so the more that you can be more chameleon-like when you're on the phone with somebody, if they've got a slow rate of speech, and like you say, for instance, you're a driver like Jeff, like you are, and like I am as well, we really have to back it off and slow it down. And I used to use, as for some of my coaching clients and also for myself as well, used to have visual cues for that as a reminder to slow down. One of them was I'd have a photo of a race car. Another one, I have a photo of a hot air balloon with the words "slow down." Just chill out. And no, when you're on the phone with another driver, then you're just keeping pace with that person. If you're on the phone with somebody who's not have a rate of speech, if you start speaking quickly, so what's the first thing that they think of? With somebody who's a fast talking, it's a fast talking salesperson, right?
Yeah, fast talking city slicker that's going to screw me.
Exactly. And so that you're not going to get into rapport or have any trust built.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, so that, or if somebody's fast like us, or if somebody's talking to a fast driver like us, and an agent starts calling and talking slow and barely spitting it out, and we're thinking, come on, man, I am busy, spit this out. What is wrong with you?
Right.
So you gotta stay attuned to that. I do also have stand up too. I think it's important, because Bill was saying earlier, on the phone, because most prospecting, when you're trying to set appointments, is on the phone. It's not face-to-face. It's not like we are here face-to-face. And I think it's really important that you stand up, so you just lose so much energy when you're sitting down. So you need to be standing up. Yeah. I think that's important. What about you?
I wanted to say standing up. I purchased, it's a Veridesk, Veridesk, and our guys over here, you see how they're standing? Those are risers on their desks, and they stand up while they work, and it's very good. Yeah. So like $300. If the riser goes on your desk, it allows you to stand up.
Nice.
I've actually seen some desks where they have built treadmills in. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I have seen those. That would be great. I'd like to ride my bike and prospect.
Yeah. I mean, this way, you get in shape while you're prospecting. You kill two birds with one stone. But yeah.
So Bill, if I can go back. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
No. Go ahead.
I have a question for you after this. Well, I want to go back a little bit. And I think there's a question on everyone's minds, and we're talking about tonality and kind of how you're feeling the conversation, and everyone's going to see that live when you guys are doing your live role plays here in a minute, which was promised, and we have all the objections and everything that you guys are going to hear. Jeff and Bill go to town on that. But why don't we just step back just a little bit? I just want to hear, you're calling 10, you speak to 10 people. So they take, 20, 30, 50 dials. You speak to 10 people, and you convert 3 to a listing appointment that you take. Can you maybe give us a little bit of idea, maybe who you're calling strategically first, so we can kind of put the scripts within context, maybe who you're speaking to and how you approach them, who those people are?
Yeah, great question. Well, as if anybody attended my first, the first hangout, I have a VA that sets all of my appointments for me. So they're going to be a combination of the ones that I'm following up with and calling back, or there'll be a combination of expireds for sub-by owners, make me moves, and Z buyers typically. It's going to be those 4 groups. So
that's key. It's like really good lead follow-up, because you have a prospect, you're kind of finding out who's interested. And you're calling on those people that are interested to follow up with.
Absolutely. They've already raised their hand.
Understand.
Yeah, they've already raised their hand. And when people say, well, that's cold calling, that's not cold calling. Cold calling is if you're calling people that have no interest whatsoever or didn't show any interest whatsoever of selling. You know, that'd be like if you're just calling a phone book. That would be cold calling. But with an expired, look, they've already committed at one point, you know, and signed on a dotted line with an agent. They showed some motivation at least to do that. For sell by owner or even to make me move or a Z buyer, it's the same thing. They've shown a commitment enough where they're interested in finding out, you know, what they could sell their house for. So that's not a cold call.
Yeah, and I want to say that one more time, is we did a previous session with Bill where he talked about how he has a VA making cold prospecting calls from Essentially, and then trying to find some people who actually want to speak with him and then pass those names along. And it's those names that you're calling that you're getting 3 appointments from. It's not just broadcasting cold calls.
No.
So we have to keep that in mind. I want to put that within perspective of everyone's understanding here. So before we go on to the role plays, are there other things that are important to master and focus on? So if everyone has the same scripts, what else should people know about how to read them and internalize them or even practice them to use them correctly?
I have role-playing and practicing and role-play partners. So what's important about that, Bill? And how should they attempt that?
Great question. And I find this a lot. You know, first of all, it's tough to find role-play partners that are committed. So, you know, once you find some that are committed, hold on to them, number one. But it's kind of like, it'd be like a runner trying to run a race without warming up. You know, or never practicing. Number one, the importance of role playing with somebody is critical as far as getting a feeling before you actually go live on a call of what you're going to experience. Number one. Number two, I think one of the key mistakes that I hear a lot of agents doing when they're role playing is that they just try to throw objections at each other to try to trip each other up, and that's probably the worst way to role play. The best way to role play is have a, you know, maybe 2 or 3 objections already predetermined, with the answers already practiced, and then take turns, you know, being the seller, practicing those answers for the objections. You're going to learn those answers far faster that way than if you're stumbling around trying to trip each other up in a role play. So by all means, don't do that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And a good role play partner, you'll come up with an objection, and then you'll be in contact with them and say, hey, here's a couple objections I just came up with.
Yeah.
Let's try and address those. And if you don't have the answer, or try to come up with some answers, and then practice role playing that. And I think it's really important too, when you're using a script, you can't be a robot. I have written down here, and I learned this from Matthew and Tom because I've attended about, I don't know, 5 or 6 of their productivity schools through the years. You need to be able to dance with the script. And what I mean by that is you got to have it so internalized. The script is a roadmap of series of questions to see if you can help them and qualify them and see. And also it's to see if you want to work with them as well. It's not just trying to get the appointment. You want to see if it's somebody that that you want to work with too. It's not just about, you know, being desperate for the listing. You're also trying to qualify them and see if they're the type of person you even want to work with. Because you trust me, you don't want to work with every seller. Because some are a pain in the ass. They need to be booted out my window. Anyway,
tell us how you really feel, Jeff.
Well, hey, I'm in one of those moods. You know, I've been fighting a bug today, so I have an excuse. I'm kind of delirious. So what I mean by dancing with the script is you've got to be able to follow it, but you have it so internalized. When they come over with an objection or something, you got to be able to go over there and dance, listen with them, and deal with that, and then you come back to it. You cannot be a robot and just because if you don't do some of the things that we're talking about, you're going to sound like a robot, and you're going to sound like you're interrogating them. And nobody wants to be interrogated. Question after question after question.
Well, when you try to use the script and it's linear, I mean, Bill, have you ever had a situation where the script has been like a linear, straight down throughout the conversation?
Hardly never. Hardly never now. I mean, because I'm just the script is a roadmap for me, and I always have it in front of me. By the way, you know, even though I know it inside and out, but I always have the scripts.
Do you keep your scripts like on a wall in front of you? You want to show a webcam? Do you have them like on a wall or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Don't break
I don't have it on a wall here, but you know, I have it, you know, similar like, you know, scripts here, and Yeah, but I have them on a trifold board, with objections and things like that. But yeah, no, I definitely have them in front of me always, and it's really just it's kind of like, well, when you think about this, I mean, even a live TV show, they're using a teleprompter. So they've got some type of format or guide that's helping them along. But to respond back to your first question, though, as far as is it linear when you go all the way through, and I think this is probably a third thing that we can touch on as well, too, that's important, is just because you have more questions in the script doesn't mean you have to go through the entire script to set the appointment. You have to listen for closing signals from the person that's on the phone with you, and it's okay to close early if they're giving you those signals.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you're so concentrated on what your agenda is, you're not listening for those signals. Would you agree, Jeff?
Yeah, that goes back to internalizing it, because you're not listening. If you're so focused on what you're going to ask questions, they're giving you a signal. It's like, great. And they say something, you say, hey, that's exactly why we need to get together. Why does today or today at 6 or 7 work for you? And you can throw that in there, and they say, yeah, come on over, I'm available at 6. Why in the heck would you go around trying to go down the script, unless it's something important for qualifying, okay?
Right.
So let's do that. But you don't want to be a drone. Now, I have a few things written down here, because I'm sure Bill does, and I highly suggest prospecting schools, classes like that, and I got 2 written down here. The Tom Ferry organization, which Bill coaches for, they have a school coming up. They're starting out, Sales Edge, and that's going to be presented by Bill Pipes. We both know Bill Pipes. He's a great guy. He's a friend of mine, and he also did the prospecting schools and stuff like that. He was a MAPS coach, MAPS. I think that's the KW stuff, right? So he's going to be doing the Sales Edge, and they'll probably go over listings, listing presentation. They'll probably go over a little more of dealing with online leads and processes like that, I would imagine, because I just recently saw him speak at NAR, and he's great. And he's also an agent. He's got a team in Utah. So that's one. And then you got the MFO, the Productivity School. I think they're still doing that. The Mike Ferry organization, the Productivity School. Tom Ferry and Matthew Ferry started that. I went to one of the first ones. I was in their one-on-one coaching, and that school's I haven't been in years, but I've been to 5 or 6 when those guys were running it, and they were phenomenal. And then I have another thing, because we were talking about earlier about how it's hard to find role play partners and stuff. Now, there are Facebook groups. Now, I'm going to mention one right now, and I'm a part of it. I don't participate a lot in it, but I've been seeing what's going on in there. It's a great group of guys and gals, and it's called, write this down, Lead Gen, G-E-N, Scripts and Objections, okay? Lead Gen, Scripts and Objections, and they're a great group of people in there, and they're sharing, and it's not one of these bullshit Facebook groups where everyone's complaining about Zillow taking over. They're focused, and they'll delete any crap. No, I'm serious, because if you're going to get in one of these...
you are, that's why I'm laughing.
No, I mean, it's about lead gen, scripts, and objections. If people get off track and start talking about this or that, or Zillow's ruined our business, or this or that. That's not what that group's about. It's about sharing objections and dealing with them, and you can probably get some role play partners in there, okay?
It's a great group. I'm in that group, yeah.
Okay, so wouldn't you agree that they're pretty focused in there?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the cool thing about these Facebook groups as well, too, is that within the groups, there's a file section. So if there's something that's not being answered, you can probably find it if you click on the files section of the Facebook groups, and there's probably some documents there that'll answer your questions.
All right, good. So we got that out of the way. So why don't we start a little bit of role play? I haven't
Sounds
done
good.
this in a while. So I'm gonna be an expired listing. I'm the lucky guy. I get to be the seller. I haven't role played in years, but this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna kick your ass, Bill.
All right,
just play.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Hey, good thing about it is that if you're too much of a jackass, I can just hang up on you.
All right, but don't close out this session, okay? We might not get you back there.
I won't close out the session. All right, so ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Yeah, Jeff?
Yeah, this is Jeff.
Hey, Jeff, this is Bill Jenkins with Keller Williams. I was calling about your house over there in Elm Street, and I noticed it came off the market yesterday. And I was curious, are you still interested in selling your home?
Yeah, you and every other realtor in the area is calling. Oh, my God. What was your name?
Bill Jenkins. Yeah, I bet you're getting bombarded right now, aren't you?
Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous. I mean, what I would like to know is where were you when it was on the market?
You know, that's a great question. You know, and I was actually busy selling about 24 homes while your home was on the market, and I'm sure you wish your home would have been one of them, correct?
Well, freaking A. I mean, the other agent promised to sell this thing in 90 days, and 6 months later, I still got my house.
Ouch! So your agent promised to sell it in 90 days?
Yeah, and you know what? The last agent never even showed our house. Do you have buyers for our house?
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of buyers. I don't know. I'd have to take a look at your house to see if it'd be a fit for one of our buyers. So my first concern of what I'm hearing you say is that this agent, said he could sell your home in 90 days. Was he actually the one that was going to write an offer and buy your home?
Well, no. He said he could get our home sold. And you know what? Right now, let me ask you a question. Did you show our home when it was on the market?
Yeah, we may have shown your home. I mean, we show a lot of homes. Like I said, we closed about 24 homes, I think, when your home was on the market. And and Jeff, as far as being bombarded with a lot of callers, the good news is this: there's probably about 12,000 licensed agents, and there's only about 10 of us calling you. So the good news is that there's only 10 of us working. But let me ask you,
only 10 of you working? Come on now.
Well, out of 12,000, yeah. So that's the good news. You're not going to get bombarded with 12,000 calls. So Jeff, can you tell me? I mean, why are you selling the property? I mean, what was the reason for putting it on the market in the first place?
We were going to move to L.A.
Okay, you're going to move to L.A.?
Yeah, by Beverly Hills. My wife loves Rodeo Drive and, all the great restaurants.
Oh, yeah. So your wife loves Rodeo Drives, loves restaurants and everything, the shopping? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like your wife sounds like mine. Does she have a black belt in shopping?
A black belt? No, she's got a black card, though.
She's got a black card. Well, I can tell there's got some motivation there, especially when you get your wife to Beverly Hills. So let me ask you. I mean, the time that you had your home in the market, did you have any offers at all?
No, not one. Not one at all.
Not even a lowball offer.
Not even a lowball offer. It's kind of I don't know what that agent did. He put a sign in the yard, and that was it.
He put a sign in the yard, and that was it. Well, I mean, did you have a lot of showings?
Yeah, we had some showings, about 25 showings in the last 6 months.
You had 25 showings. I mean, well, Jeff, because I'm looking at your house, I mean, it's fabulous. I mean, and I'm kind of confused here. What do you think stopped your home from selling?
I seriously, I really don't know. He told me he was going to do open houses. He did do some open houses. That's about all he did. But that, I don't know. He came in with this big old marketing plan and all these pages and books and, gave me all these great things they were going to do. And, oh, yeah, we're going to get this thing sold,
Well, so sounds like there was a lot of promises that weren't kept, and sound like you had a marketing plan. But from what you're telling me, after you signed it on the dotted line, he just kind of disappeared on you?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, he did the open houses, and we had to get out every Sunday, which we didn't like. I got 10 kids, and it's freaking hard to get all these kids out of the house,
Wow, you've got 10 kids?
Yeah, 10 kids.
And you had to get kids out every single time you had an open house?
Yeah, that's
wow. Yeah. My hat goes off to you. It sounds like what an ordeal. Well, just out of curiosity, Jeff, how did you pick the last agent that you listed with?
Well, they helped us buy the home when we bought it.
Oh, okay. So he was actually acting in capacity as a buyer's agent.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he helped us buy it. Is that what you call it, buyer's agent?
Well, yeah. See, Jeff, there's two different types of agents out there. There's agents that focus on buyers, which are typically some of the newer agents, and there's agents like myself who focus on getting homes sold. In fact, we don't really list homes. What we do is we sell homes, and it requires a different set of skills. And and Jeff, obviously, we sell a lot of homes in that area. And what I like to do is I like to view your property and explain to you the aggressive approach that we take to get homes sold. So let me ask you, would later on today at 4 o'clock work for you, or would tomorrow work?
So what do you want to do?
Well, Jeff, what I want to share with you is how we're able to sell anywhere from 80 to 100 homes every single year, and show our aggressive marketing plan. In fact, one of the things I want to share with you too is that, I mean, you kind of alluded this to me yourself. I mean, what do you think the biggest reason is that sellers like yourself are disgruntled with their past agent?
Well, I felt they didn't do anything. I mean, they talked a big talk, came, listed the property, and didn't do anything. They did the open houses. Like I said, those are a pain in the butt. But I just felt like they didn't do much. And we never really heard from them that much. So,
bingo, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Basically, it was lack of communication, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think part of it was, but I still don't understand why our home didn't sell. I mean, he was so pumped that this home's going to sell in 90 days and da 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 da,
Yeah.
So we signed up.
Well, yeah, I completely understand it. And Jeff, this is a story that I hear a lot from a lot of folks like yourselves. What I like to do is share with you what we do differently than other agents that actually gets homes sold. So, let me ask you, would maybe some time later on this afternoon at 4 o'clock, or would tomorrow at 1 o'clock work best for you?
1 o'clock tomorrow? Oh, whew. How about 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow?
4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow? Which one? Would you like prefer 4 or 5?
Probably 5, so that way my wife can get the kids settled down with the babysitter and stuff.
All right, sounds great. All right, Jeff. All right, sounds good. So listen, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And look, I personally promise you this. If I stay there longer, 15 or 20 minutes, I personally give you permission to boot me out. Fair enough?
Oh, you're only going to be here 15 or 20 minutes?
Well, if I'm not rocking your socks or knocking your socks off within 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to be asking me to show me the door, aren't you?
Probably.
Okay. So I promise you this, is that I'm going to at least give you enough information so you can make an informed decision and pick the right agent this time. Does that make sense?
Sure. All right. Yeah. Come on over tomorrow.
All right. Terrific. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Good job, Bill. Woo!
Good job.
Hey, where's the applause, Frank?
I know. I got to get the applause on here. Hey, if anyone has any questions, right? All right.
All right.
If anyone has any questions here on the right with that script, ask them in the Q&A, and let's go deeper on that expired script, and I'll ask it right here on the right.
Yeah, we're going to do deeper. All right, so let's do another expired.
Okay.
All right.
Ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Yeah, Jeff?
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff. This is Bill Jenkins with Keller Williams, and I was just calling about your house over on Elm Street, and I noticed it came off the market yesterday, and I was curious if you're still interested in selling the house.
Yeah, I don't know, Bill. Man, there's a lot of you agents calling. I think we're just going to take it off the market and fix up a few things, and then maybe put it back on the market.
Okay, so you're thinking about taking it off the market temporarily and maybe doing some repairs or improvements on the house?
Yeah, I think I got 10 kids, and I think we need to paint the walls. The dirty handprints might have been part of the problem. It didn't sell, and there's a few things we could probably spruce up.
Okay.
I don't think it was the price. Maybe we just need to fix it up.
Well, one of the things that we also offer to every single one of our clients as well too that I could share with you is that we can actually walk you through how to actually stage your house and maybe do some things that don't cost you any money. In other words, it's sweat equity but not check equity. And we can go through a line item checklist for you to share with you probably the best things that probably sell houses. Would that have some value for you, Jeff?
Maybe, yeah, that might help, I guess.
All right.
But we're also thinking, it's pretty close to the holidays. We're thinking we're just going to wait till after the holidays.
Okay, so you're going to wait until after the holidays. And Jeff, I'm hearing this from a lot of folks, just like yourselves. And you know what's interesting?
What's that?
What we're seeing is we're seeing a pickup in activity. And I'll give you an example. Just over Thanksgiving weekend, we actually got offers on 3 of our listings over the holidays. We actually got an offer that somebody sent Thanksgiving Day. And what do you think the reason for that is?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they were just in town. Were they people out of town, and they had on Thanksgiving Day?
On Thanksgiving Day. And you know there's a couple of reasons for it, Jeff, and I'll share this with you. Number one, the buyers that are out there during the holidays are not out there because they're looking for Christmas decorating ideas. They're out there because they need to buy. And the second thing that's going to give you an advantage is that you're actually going to have a lot less competition on the market than if you're waiting until the spring like every other seller is thinking. So let me ask you this. I mean, if there's more competition competing for less buyers, is that going to drive your price up or drive it down?
Might drive it down. So you're thinking there's an advantage of having it on during the holidays?
Well, I can share with you this is our personal experience, and it's definitely an advantage for us. And it may be just a couple of small things that occurred that caused your home not to sell. So, just out of curiosity, can you tell me why you're selling your property?
Yeah, we're thinking about going down to Southern California.
Okay, thinking about going down to Southern California. All right. And when you had your home in the market, did you have any offers?
Did have a couple offers, but they were kind of really low, so we're like, forget that.
Okay, so you had a couple of lower priced offers. All right, that makes sense. All right. So obviously, did you have quite a few showings?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. We had about 30 or so.
Wow.
I don't know. You tell me. Is that a lot of showings?
That's a lot of showings. I mean, typically, you should have had some pretty decent offers. And once again, doing a visual inspection of your house and taking a look at your house to see what we can come up with might be something that would probably help you get your house sold this time.
Oh, really? I got a question for you, Bill.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of agents calling, and they said they'd cut the commission. Will you cut the commission?
That's interesting because I hear that from a lot of folks, and typically my first answer is no. And may I share with you why?
Yeah, why not?
Well, let me ask you this. If somebody is right off the bat willing to cut their commission, in other words, the money that they use to feed, house, and clothe their family, how strong of a negotiator do you think they're going to be for you when it comes time to negotiate an offer for your home?
I don't know.
Is that the kind of agent working for you, or do you want an aggressive agent?
We want someone aggressive. We want to get it sold. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So you're saying that passive agents only cut their commissions and the aggressive guys don't?
Yeah, last time I checked, Jeff, that's the way it works. And the other thing that I noticed as well too is that the aggressive agents get homes sold, and the passive agents don't. And you've already experienced that, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
So I mean, you've heard of what's the definition of insanity, right?
Yeah, I've heard that. Doing
last
the same thing over and over. Yeah.
Exactly, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And look, I'm not saying this to be just speaking disparagingly against other agents out there. There's just there's some agents out there that just simply do a better job and have the means to do a better job. So what I'd be willing to do this, Jeff. I'd be willing to sit down with you 15, 20 minutes and share with you what we do to get homes sold in this market, and and maybe something different than just fingerprints on a wall. Would that have some value for you if we get your home sold this time?
Yeah, sounds good.
So let me ask you, what would be the best time for me to get together with you? Would like maybe 4 o'clock tomorrow, or 5 o'clock work best for you?
5 works well for us.
5. All right. Terrific, Jeff. Well, I'll see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Awesome. All right. Hey, here's one thing. You handled the fix-up thing. I think here's another way, how I used to handle a lot of stuff. Like I said, I haven't prospected expireds in years, but I have it written down because I loved it. So like when
Jeff, by the way, typically I don't handle objections over the phone. I just did this as an example.
Sure.
Typically what I do is I would level shift it, but I was doing this, so we have some examples of how to handle this for the call.
So here's
typically
kind of a
level shift it and move on.
Yeah, a level shift would be like, kind of like, hey, we're going to take it off the market and fix it up a few things and maybe put it on back. Then, you could say something like, hey, that's exactly why we need to get together. Let me come on by and then kind of like you did.
Exactly.
Show you A, B, C, how to fix up the home and get something.
Right.
Another good one, so you guys should write this down because I use this, and this is like pseudo, just redirect, boom. You could use it for a lot of things. That's exactly why we need to get together. ... Let me come on by, and then whatever you're going to, you can spin that almost into anything. Right?
That's exactly what you're talking about, level shifting.
Yeah, and the other one that I like is, that worked a lot too, is, if I could get your home sold in the next 30 or 90 days, would that cause a problem for you? If there's a lot of motivation, it's hard for those motivated people to sit there and just plain up lie and say, no, that's not going to cause a problem. Or yes, that's going to cause a problem. So that one is, and I got this all from the Fairy Boys, so we'll give them props. If I could get your home sold in the next 90 days, would that cause a problem for you? So write that one down. So those are just a couple things I had written down that I loved using on a lot of stuff.
Those are great.
So do we want to do a FSBO one? And then I'll hit you with a few listing objections, just single objections.
Do you want to do a
FSBO one, huh?
Did you want to do a FSBO? Because we did a FSBO last time.
You know what?
Because it's, you want to open it up for, see if they want to.
Yeah, you know what? We're running out of time. It's already 2:40. Why don't I just hit you with some listing objections, like we're on the listing real quick? I got a list of those, and then we'll see what they think. So, you know, you're kind of closing on me, and then I'll give you that objection. Like, you know what, Bill? We just want to think it over.
Okay, you just want to think it over. All right, so there's obviously something that I didn't answer for you, or maybe you still have some questions. Is there any questions that I didn't, you know, maybe answer that you have currently?
No, we're just trying to get, you know, we kind of want to sleep on it and talk about it, you know, me and my wife, and, you know, figure this out. I mean, we're liking what you're saying, but, you know, we just kind of need a little more time to talk about it and stuff.
No, you know, I completely understand that. I mean, it's, and that's quite okay. I mean, it's like if you guys want to, you know, think about it and sleep on it. But one of the things we could do is this. What we could do is that we can initially sign the agreement, okay, and we can date it for tomorrow. And then after sleeping on it, if you decide that you guys don't want to move forward, then I'd be happy to rip up the agreement. The last thing I want to do is tie you up in an agreement that you're not comfortable with. Fair enough?
So you're willing to do that?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, next. Another one is, you know what, Bill, we're really liking what you're saying, but we still have an appointment with 3 other agents. You know, we're liking you. We're feeling good about you, you know, April and I, but we want to keep our commitment because we just feel, you know, we feel like, you know, we made an appointment with them. We kind of want to hear what they have to say.
No, I completely understand. So let me ask you this. Based on everything that I've shown you so far, do you feel that, you know, myself and my team can get the job done for you and get your house sold?
Well, yeah, like I said, we're liking it. We feel comfortable. We think you're a nice guy, and I think we could work together, and I feel confident based on what you're showing us that you can get our home sold.
All right, excellent. And you said you met with some other agents, and you're going to meet with some other agents as well?
Yeah, we've interviewed a few other before, and we're going to interview 2 or 3 more. And like I said, so far you're the best guy. We're feeling good with you, but you know, got to make those. You know,
no, look, I completely understand. Look, I'd be willing to do this for you. Why don't we do this? Obviously, you could interview 100 agents, and I'm sure after interviewing 100 agents, you know, I'm confident that we're going to be the right choice for you as far as getting your home sold. So what I'd be doing, I'd be willing to do this for you. Why don't you give me the names and numbers of the agents you got the appointment set for? I'd be happy to give them a call and let them know that you chose us to list your home. And this way, what we'll do is we'll give them first shot at bringing a buyer, so it'll be a win for them. It'll be a win for you and win for us. Fair enough?
So you would be willing to call those other agents? And,
absolutely,
and
absolutely. And, you know,
so we don't have to?
You guys don't have to do that. I'll do that for you. And I'll be very cordial with them. And this way, we'll give them first shot at bringing a buyer, okay?
All right, but do you think we might make them mad? What if they have a buyer and then they're mad they didn't get the listing?
You know what? I would assume that they're professional. And if they're professional, they're going to let their feelings, move their feelings aside and be focused on their client. And if they're going to be mad, that's probably not the kind of agent you'd want to hire anyway. That's, you know, basing their business on emotions. Would you agree?
I would agree. All right, we're going to do another one real quick, okay? I'm having fun. Haven't done this in a while. Sorry, guys. Hey, you know what, Bill? I'm liking everything you said. But your price, man, I had all these other agents telling me that I could get more money.
Yeah.
You know, you're telling me that we need to list at $225,000, and I had these other agents saying that the list price was $250,000. Can't we just always I mean, we really like you, but can we just list at $250,000 and always come down later?
Okay, and you know what? That is a strategy that you can use, you know, as far as listing high and coming down later, and. Let me ask you a question. When you were out looking for homes as a buyer, and you saw a home that had been on the market, say, 60, 90, 120 days, what was the first thought that came to mind?
60, 90 days?
Well, 90 or 120 days.
Yeah, I was thinking, geez, it must be a dog or overpriced or something.
Or something wrong with it, right? And you see that there's price adjustments, and if you see that there's price drops, you know, what's the first thing that starts coming to your mind when you start noticing that?
That they probably had it on the market higher than everybody else or whatever. And either that or it just was just, you know, their price is too high for the condition of the property. Maybe they didn't have the granite and stuff that we have.
Exactly. Or that they're also desperate. And that's not the message that you want to convey to them, you know, as a seller, is it?
What do you mean desperate?
Well, I mean, if it shows that you keep dropping a price from a higher price and a buyer sees that, they're thinking, wow, if they've dropped their price 2 or 3 times at this point, I bet I can get it even lower.
Yeah,
You're trying to net more money, not less, right?
Yeah.
And the second thing is this, Jeff. Let me ask you this: when a seller is telling you that you could sell your house at a certain price, are they the ones that actually writing the offer and going to buy your home?
Oh, you mean the agent telling me that?
Yeah, the agent, right.
Yeah. No, well, no, they're just listing the property.
So how can an agent guarantee what your price is going to be if they're not the one buying your home? That doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, no, that doesn't make sense.
Well, and sometimes the agents will do that. It's called buying the listing. Now, of what I've shown you right here, which is the 555, which is the 5 homes that are on the market, the 5 homes that are pending or contingent, which is going to show us the trend, and the 5 that is sold, I've already shown you what the market is selling this. So based on what I've shown you, where do you think your house would sell?
Well, yeah, I guess probably down by where you're saying.
Well, it's where it's really not what I'm saying, it's what the market's saying. See, Jeff, I'm 100% confident our marketing works. What we're going to be doing is when we put your home on the market is we're going to be testing your home for the price. And the market's going to tell us whether or not we're correct. Doesn't that make sense?
Sure, yeah, okay. I guess we can go with that price.
All right, terrific.
All right, so I got other ones, but we're going to run out of time. It's already 2:46 because I've been just Frank, do we have some objections on that right side?
Well, not too many. I mean, go ahead and feel free to use the Q&A app. You only got 2 questions here. Robert, I'll send you an email with a link to something previously. And people want to know if there's a link to the scripts. I do know, just in my own experience, if you type in like Mike Ferry PDF, you can see a bunch of objections, Mike Ferry objections, and you'll see them all on the home.
There's 40 of them. Right?
Yeah, there's 40 of them.
Actually, different ones. I want to reference something that Greg Harrelson said. My hair's a mess today. I want to reference something that Greg Harrelson said on one of the past events. I'm just finally noticing that. One of the past events is that whenever he brings on salespeople to his team, he gets them script certified. And I love this idea of script certification. I was like, Greg, what does script certified mean? He's like, well, I give them the 40 objections because they never change, right?
Right.
Your job is to memorize them word for word, and I'm going to quiz you on all of them. And once they're there, that's script certified, then he can work with them. Once you have that base foundation like you talked about earlier, then he works with them on all the other, tonality, pacing, mirroring type of things, the softer skills that we spoke with about today. All right. So we got a first question back. Thank you, Michael. Is there a good script for older expireds? Michael asks, Bill.
Well, really, just use the expired script. It doesn't matter whether they're old or new. It's the same verbiage. I mean, you can massage it somewhat. Hey, I noticed your home came off the market, about 6 months ago, and I was curious if you're still interested in selling your home. Instead of I say your home came off the market yesterday or today, you can just massage the time frame. But really, it's the same script.
Yeah, and I would say that you use the same script, same type of questions. You got to internalize. You're going to have so much internalized anyways. You're going to dance with them. But if you're calling even older expireds, which I would do, everybody's asking, Jeff, how do you get seller leads? Hey, man, they're in your MLS, and pull back the last 3 or 4. Yeah. Especially if the market's improved like us, you call them and let them know, hey, by the way, I noticed you used to have your home on the market 2 years ago. I wanted to let you know the market's gone up 20% since you last had on the market. I'm curious, when do you plan on putting it back on the market? Or whatever the script is, okay? Okay. Yeah, kind of the same thing. I would agree.
Okay. Anything else in that, Bill?
No. Other than that, I mean, it's like this is the good news. The FSBOs and the expireds, they don't have a secret mastermind group where they meet once a month to come up with new ways to
trip. I said that last time. That's good.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
Ben Alexander asks, what about out-of-town sellers, where the appointment is not the objective?
Okay.
Out-of-town sellers where the appointment is not the objective.
In other words, sellers that own properties locally in your marketplace, but they've already moved on.
Yeah, they've moved on.
Okay. Yeah, it's basically, I think that makes it even easier because you can have all of your objection handlers in front of you and the script in front of you, and if you want to bring it as close as possible to an actual appointment, then you could do something like this. Do a hangout with them or use a service called join.me. and log them in so that at least you've got some body language when you're meeting with them.
We have a client that tries to FaceTime them and to speak to them around their iPhone if they have an iPhone. So they actually answer a video call from you versus a phone call. And then also a join.me is like, hey, go to this link, you get your custom link, and you can take them through the presentation, show them everything right on your computer.
That's what cool. I use. I use join.me.
All right. Do we have any more, or do you want me to shoot one at him?
No more. Go ahead and shoot one at him.
All right. So
feel free to ask your questions, everybody.
All right. I think they're all being shy, maybe because we announced their name. They got to get over that, though. Bill, we only want to give you a 30-day listing.
Okay, I can appreciate that. And Jeff, let me see. After we discussed everything with your price point, what was the price point that we decided we're going to list your home for?
Oh, $225,000.
$225,000. Okay. And did I share with you my market report that tells you on average how long it takes homes to sell? This price point?
Yeah, I think you said it was, what, about 90 days or something?
Yeah, it's about 90 days on average. Now, you want to net the most money, right?
Well, of course, yeah.
Okay. So, see, I could, if you like, we could do a 1-week listing if we price it for 1 week to sell. Is that what you want to do?
So you're saying that at the 225, it's a price for 90 days?
Well, that's on average. I'm not saying that that's how long it's going to take. And really, and the other reason why typically we don't take a 1-month listing is it takes us anywhere, at least 2 to 3 to 4 weeks to get all the marketing that I showed you that we're going to do up and running. And it's also one of the other things that we do as well too is that even if once we get an offer, we don't stop that marketing machine. So really, what you're kind of doing is shooting yourself in the foot because let's say we take a 1-month listing and we get your home under contract, and then all of a sudden that buyer falls out for whatever reason, and the listing expires, and the marketing was stopped. Is that going to help you get your home sold?
No, probably not. I guess it might be good to have a backup offer or something, maybe.
Exactly. So why don't we do this? Let's do the term, and typically we can reduce the time from a year to 6 months for you. And at that point, then what we'll do is we're going to put all of our marketing machine in place and aggressively market your home to expose it to as many people as possible to elicit an offer as quickly as possible. Will that work for you?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Good.
All right, I'm running out of steam, Frank. Are there?
I have an objection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bill, I understand that you sell homes in all of Las Vegas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now,
yeah, because you saw the map I showed you, right?
Yeah, big, huge map. I live on the Strip, and I want a local special agent that only specializes in selling homes right here. I think you're just too broad for me. I want the local expert.
Gotcha. Okay. So it sounds to me what your concern is that we may not be focused as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may not be as focused on the neighborhood. I understand. Well, Frank, and that makes sense. I understand why you'd have that concern. And let me ask you this: do you want to limit the amount of people that's going to, show your home to just a localized area, or do you want to expose it to all of the buyers that are out there?
Well, we want to expose it to everyone possible.
You want to expose it to everyone possible, right? So wouldn't it make more sense to hire an agent like myself who is going to expose it to all of the buyers out there, not just a small niche group, and to help you net the most money?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense. You're hired.
You're too 8%. Easy, Frank. Okay.
8%. Here's a good one from Michael again. Seller asks where your office. Seller asks where your office, and once you tell them, they tell you that you're. Can you read that, Jeff?
Well, I don't even have that right side up, so I can't
read it. Okay.
So it sounds like the objection is the seller finds out your office is an area that's too far away from the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're too far out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and we get that sometimes too. I mean, we have a couple of offices that cover both the valleys, so we don't have to deal with that as much. But one of the things you can do to circumvent that, and I would suggest doing this, is combine all of your solds, your buyer sales, your listing sales, put them on a map. And if you guys want to learn how to do that, there's a great term I learned from Tom Ferry. It's called GTS, which stands for Google that shit. And you can learn how to create a map of all of your sales. And when you have enough of sales, throughout whatever marketplace that you're in, that's going to pretty much eliminate that objection. And the other way to handle that objection would be is that, well, look, I completely understand that my office is not in the location of where we're going to be selling homes, but as you can see from our map of where we sold, we pretty much sell homes in every area. So we're not going to be probably meeting at my office anytime soon. And plus, we can probably do all of the signatures and everything electronically. That's how things are done today. So can you see how really our office location is not going to have a whole lot to do with getting your home sold, rather than it's going to be our skill and our marketing machine is helping get your home sold? Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Okay. Just wanted to hear it for everybody here.
Yeah.
I want to answer a question here from everybody. Everyone's like, where are these objection answers? So everyone go to Google and type in real estate objections into Google. And it's the very first search result. There's a PDF from Mike Fury that comes up. There's lots of other good ones too. You can take like Tom and Maps Coaching, and they're all great. They're all great companies. Hey,
here's a thought for you. This call is recorded. Here's a homework assignment for you. Transcribe the call.
Yeah, yeah. Transcribe.
If you want to really learn these objection handlers, if you're serious about it, yeah, listen to this call, and either you do it or have somebody transcribe it for you, and then you'll have them all transcribed. Because all this stuff is, like Jeff said, I don't have this stuff, written down. It's just I'm reacting to what's being responded to me, and I'm responding in a manner that's logical in the form of a question. That's all it is.
Gregory on the home page here, it's not on the right-hand side, so we don't see it, but Gregory asks, why is making the actual expired call so hard to do? I have trouble motivating myself to make the call. Why is the rejection so hard? Any advice? And I'd say to that, watch the previous episode with Matthew Ferry. He covers a lot of rejection, and understanding the Matthew Ferry is probably the answer on that, I would think. What are your thoughts, Bill?
Absolutely. I think, that was a great call, and Matthew is a master at that, especially with NLP and also understanding motivation in yourself. But it really boils down to two things. I think the biggest reason why agents don't prospect comes down to two things. Either they're trying to make them perfect before they start, or they don't know what to say. And either one's dangerous. So if you're hesitant about making the calls, it's probably because you're nervous about what they're going to say, and you don't have a response for them. My suggestion to you is this: start making the calls, fail forward, write down everything that's tripping you up, and get with a partner, or a mentor, or a coach. If you don't have the answers, the responses to the objections, then find somebody that can give you at least 2 to 3 responses. Think about this, guys. When you were getting your real estate license, how many questions did you have to memorize to pass the state and a national test? A boatload, right? But you did it, right? So when we're talking about 40 objections and handlers, you should be able to do that. That should be the first thing on your list, is learning what the typical responses are from the sellers with expireds or for sell by owners. Learn the responses. Practice, handling those responses, and then a lot of those fears are going to go away.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Bill, I'm going to give you a giant, and I'm going to throw in some money.
All right, hey, there's one thing I forgot to do at the intro because I was all spun out today. Is if you've made it this far in the thing, or you're watching it, if you did not get an email about these Keeping It Real sessions, go to keepingitreal.com and opt in on the right side. Follow the Real Geeks Facebook page. Follow the Real Geeks.
You'll only get updates on the events, nothing else.
Yeah,
you're only going to
get
it segmented. It's only that.
We don't spam anyone. Okay? Yeah, they just give up their name and email anyway, so we can't even call them if we wanted to.
So why don't you tell us about who's next, Jeff? Who's next?
Oh, okay. So Buddy Blake from North Carolina is next, and he's been in the business for I think 19 years. I don't have my notes here, but the session is going to be called "Convert More Home Valuation Leads into Listings." So everybody's got a home valuation. Buddy Blake owns Guaranteed Sale and I think Free Home Values. I don't have my notes, so He owns that. Real Geeks has a home valuation thing, part of the site. Goes through the whole process, very similar. So we're going to be discussing how to convert more of those type of leads into listings. So, you know, we're on a listing tear here. And, you know, if you control the listings in the inventory, you control a lot. You get more buyers. You got, you know, anyhow. But I'd like to thank Bill Jenkins for coming on, and Frank. And hopefully everything goes well Tuesday, Frank. And you have a good, healthy baby boy. And
congratulations, Frank.
We'll see you guys next Thursday, and I think that's December 11th.
Yeah.
All right. Aloha.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.